Hello everyone, welcome to Sermon Prep in this, the octave of Christmas. What does that mean? The 8 days of Christmas, octave, 8 days of Christmas. And so for us, it's still Christmas Day. I know so many people in the shops and in the secular world around us think that Christmas is finished. I was trying to look for some Christmas crackers yesterday because my family are going to celebrate Christmas later this week because my niece returned from the UK with her husband, and so we decided we would wait and celebrate Christmas a little later, but in the octave, and so we're still celebrating Christmas. But I couldn't find crackers anywhere, so the shops are most probably on to Easter already, I suppose. But for us, it's still Christmas, so Merry Christmas, everyone. We're preparing this Sunday for the Epiphany of the Lord. It's a really important feast. It's a lovely feast. It's a magical feast, isn't it? The idea of a star and wise men or kings or magi, different names given to them, journeying across the desert on their camels to bring wonderful gifts, exotic gifts to the baby Jesus. That wonderful hymn, We Three Kings, that sort of sums up the feeling of this feast. It's also important because it's about the revelation of Jesus. Jesus is made known far and wide. And for us, in a church that is focused on mission, going out, telling others, this feast is even more important and even more powerful. It should resonate with us in a big way. So, a wonderful feast. So let's look at the readings that we are given for this feast of the Epiphany of the Lord. Every year, A, B, and C, the 3 years, the readings are the same. So the first reading is taken from the prophet Isaiah, chapter 60, verses 1 to 6. Arise, shine, for your light has come. Quite a firm imperative, isn't it, from the prophet? A call to action, to do something. Get up, arise, because your light, your salvation has come. It's a wonderful start to that very well-known reading. And then the psalm is Psalm 72. All nations on earth shall fall prostrate before you, O Lord. And that reminds us of the Epiphany, the revelation of Jesus to all the peoples of the world. It's not reserved just for a few select, especially holy, good people. No, it's for all people, all nations. And so that little verse, all nations on earth shall fall prostrate before you, O Lord, reminds us of our work to reveal the Lord, yes, the mission of the church, but also that all people are welcome. There's no one who should feel excluded, that Jesus is not for them, that Jesus doesn't come for them, that Jesus doesn't offer his love, his salvation to them. And then the second reading is taken from St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians, chapter 3, verses 2 to 3, and then 5 to 6. We know Paul considered himself an apostle to the Gentiles. That's one of the titles given to St. Paul. One of the ways of describing who St. Paul was as a person, but also as an apostle, and how he saw his mission. He was meant to go out, and we look at all the work that St. Paul did in spreading the story of Jesus, the good news of the kingdom, around the Mediterranean, the known world, really, at that time. Hey? Then we see that this reading is really very appropriate for this feast. So that all nations come to know of Jesus, we all need to look at St. Paul and model our lives on St. Paul. We too have to go out. And then the gospel is from St. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. And it explains the story of the wise men coming to Bethlehem to give the gifts that they have. It also mentions, of course, nasty King Herod. So we get a sense of honor and worship given to the Lord. But we also have a sense of the sinister, dark, evil forces working, sometimes not really even behind the scenes, but working against revealing Jesus, working to stop this kingdom of love, of peace and joy from being spread. Friends, I thought I would read, when I'm preparing for my homilies, to write my homilies, I look at different commentaries and different books, and I try and get a sense of what others have thought, what other people have reflected on, prayed about. Also get some sort of scientific, if you like, historical context for the readings. And I came across this little extract in a little book. It's quite old now, produced in Ireland by a Father Duckworth. And I thought, this sums it up so nicely. So I thought I'd read what he wrote. Epiphany means appearance or manifestation of God. And the liturgy for Sunday, especially the liturgy of the Word, illustrates that meaning, revelation, appearance, manifestation. It illustrates this in various ways. The readings begin with a great prophetic hymn offering hope to the scattered children of Israel. It celebrates, in the first place, the return of the Babylonian exiles and the restoration of Jerusalem as a city of God, wherein his presence will be a source of joy for the returning erstwhile captives. The dark night of their captivity is ended, and the glory of God will light up their lives. We know the restoration of the people following the exile. People are coming back many years afterwards. They're coming back to Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is their home. It's that special place in their lives and in their faith, and they're coming back to the city of God. And so the pain and the hurt and the darkness of their captivity is ended, and God's light now shines. And so the prophet Isaiah, with his beautiful words, images, explains, describes how powerful this moment is. And Father Duckworth goes on, indeed, Jerusalem, the dwelling place of God, will be like a magnet, drawing to it the nations, bringing their wealth and gifts. And so, even from the time of the prophet Isaiah, so long before Jesus, 700 odd years before Jesus, the sense that Jerusalem was not only the center for the Hebrew people, the Jewish people, the people of the Old Testament, but it was the center for all nations. If God was to dwell there, if God was dwelling there, surely all people were drawn to God, so surely Jerusalem would be the center of the world, and everybody would flow to it to encounter, to meet, and to know God. Okay. The reference to gold and incense at the end of the first reading anticipates and provides for us a very nice link with the gospel story, and the coming of the Magi to see and adore the Messiah King. Dear friends, who are the Magi? Kings, wise men. Well, the Magi were sort of priestly people, well, of a priestly caste in the Persian Empire. That was primarily what they were. It's sort of, the word came to reflect and came to incorporate people who were astrologers or people who were involved in the occult and that sort of thing as well. So it expanded a little bit. So all those who looked at the stars, astronomy, were considered priestly, considered learned, would have been termed magi. Okay. What about this star? What about this star? Do we believe the star? Where does this come from? Well, if we look in the 24th chapter of the book of Numbers, so way back in the Old Testament, we have a reference to this star. We have in this chapter Balaam. You remember Balaam? Balaam and his talking donkey. Do you remember? And he makes a prophecy, an oracle, in the 24th chapter of the book of Numbers. And if you go to verses 15, 16, and 17 of chapter 24, you will read here, "The oracle of Balaam, son of Beor, the oracle of the man with far-seeing eyes, the oracle of one who hears the word of God, of one who knows the knowledge of the Most High. He sees what Shaddai makes him see, receives the divine answer, and his eyes are opened. I see him, but not in the present. I behold him, but not close at hand. A star from Jacob takes the leadership. A scepter arises from Israel." And so there's the sort of link reference to the star associated with the Messiah. The scepter, the scepter is a symbol of the king, of ruling over a large group of people. So we have the image of the star from the book of Numbers, and we have this idea of magi, learned men, looking up into the stars, looking up into the heavens, seeing the star, and that star points towards the Messiah King. Okay, so there's the link between the first reading and the second, and the gospel, sorry. Okay, just to go back a little bit about to the first reading. I said, the imperative, arise, but that sense of urgency, of action, of doing something is present almost throughout all three readings here. Arise, stand up. But if you go through that first reading from the prophet Isaiah, you will see that there's that sense of movement, of action. The camels, the people coming to the holy city. And then the gospel too, the wise men moving, and Herod going out to try and control. So there's lots of action in the readings. And I think that we can find that too in the second reading, St. Paul. We know how active St. Paul was. He never seemed to sit still for a minute. Always on the move, going out. And he links that to being stewards of God's grace. He is a steward of God's grace. And stewardship is about service. It's about action. It's about movement. Stewards are servants. Servants of the gospel for us as Christian stewards. And servants do not sit around mulling all sorts of nice things. They're working for the kingdom. Eh? And so there's action even in our second reading. So I think that's really important. Dear friends, for me, obviously, the first thing that grabs us is the revelation, manifestation. The star, the wise men, those are important. And I think I've preached over the years a lot about that. But I've been thinking over these few days since Christmas, what did the star reveal? It revealed Jesus. It revealed his love, his kindness. Eh? And St. Bernard of Clairvaux speaks of the revelation in Jesus of God's love and kindness. And so the star reveals that. It shows God's love and kindness. So we have to be aware of what is being revealed. For us, modern Catholics, our task is to reveal Jesus today, isn't it? To bring others in our world to know and love Jesus. But how do we do that revealing? What are we showing people? What are we attracting people to? What kind of community are we? Do we find in our community love, kindness, mercy, patience, forgiveness, peace? Do we find that? Because it's no good saying, we must reveal Jesus, we must tell people of Jesus, we must bring people to know Jesus. And when they come here, they discover an angry, hard, friendless, Jesus-less community, spiritless community. And so perhaps as we make our way to this great feast and we consider our task of revealing, perhaps we also need to think about what we are working to create, to reveal, to show the world. Are we creating a Christ-centered, Spirit-filled community that others are drawn to? Okay, so there's some thoughts for this wonderful feast of the Epiphany. We should see you online and in person. Mass times are as normal, Saturday evening, 5 o'clock, and then 7 and 9 a.m. on Sunday in person. And we will live stream the 7 a.m. Mass bright and early for you so that you can go out and enjoy the summer weather. God bless everyone. Look forward to seeing you. Take care. Bye-bye.